Hey guys, Engine Doc back with you again. Part 2 of the John Deere 3 horsepower E. Part 1, if you haven't seen that, we inspect the engine and tear it apart. And in the meantime, I've done a lot of cleanup, and this will be the beginning of Part 2. And I've got to grind the valves in, finish assembly. I've put a little coat of oil on the engine to give it a little bit of a shine and show you what it's going to look like when we're done. Use boiled linseed oil on it. So I'll take you around. We're going to take a look at the engine. I've got the cart up over here too. We've got to go through it. Got to put some new wood under the engine, put some new wood on the cart, see what we've got to do with that. So we'll start part 2. Stay tuned. Well, as always, the biggest part of any restoration is cleanup and inspection. Take a look down in here. It looks good inside. Cleaned up pretty well. The cylinder's in good shape. So, got a light laying on it there so you can see in there. Here are the rings. They're good. Sparing anything broken. When I put them back on the piston, I'm going to reuse the rings. Got that old gaudy mixer. Got that green paint off of it. It cleaned up good. Ended up, somebody's been in here before. They put some new valves in it. It's got new valves, so it looks like all I have to do is lap them in. The cylinder head cleaned up pretty good. Whoever repaired it did a nice job on the brazing. I've got a nice flat surface here. Cleaned up good. So we're ready to go back together. There's the piston. It worked, cleaned up pretty good. Bearings are all good in it. Over here are the flywheels. Here's the pulley off of it. And the crank and everything looks good. The flywheels had a lot of junk on them that got cleaned off. And also in this part, we'll probably get into the cart. Not sure if this is an original John Deere cart or not. Might leave a comment if you think it is. Anyway, it fits the engine quite well. So this wood's going to have to go. We've got new wood, as you saw in part 1, that we cut for it. And the wheels, they've got some kind of loose bushings. So we may have to make some new bushings for the hub. And we'll just get this old wood off of here and see what we've got. Clean the iron up. There's looking down the bore with the lights shining on the other side there. So stay tuned. We'll get back on this one. Now that it's cleaned up, got a new fuel tank for it. And the boiled linseed oil makes them look good, doesn't it? It just brings out that original paint and makes it look great. So we will continue on here with the 3-horse John Deere E. Well, I took the cart all apart, as you saw, and got pieces of it laying everywhere here. These axles were bent. This is just a piece of pipe. You can see in the end of it here. That's been molded when this axle was cast. Molded into the casting. And these stubs out here where the wheels were actually bent. So I had to heat this up and get those straightened up. Put a straight edge on there and got them straightened up again. And the wheels were very sloppy on the axles. So you can see here I've put inserts in them here, sleeved them. And what I did is I just took a piece of scrap conduit here, like this, and cut a piece off of it and split it. It was too big. This, of course, wouldn't fit inside the hub. And that's great, so that allowed me to cut it slid it on the bandsaw and opened it up, then I could squeeze it down and drive it in there, and it's a nice tight fit. I'll show you how we did that. Alright, I got you set up over here at the anvil. The only thing I do is just take the pliers. I'm able to squeeze that down enough to get it to compress down a little bit and start in there. And usually I can get that started, drive it in there, then just take a half-round file, clean up any burrs that may have happened when I drove it in. That looks pretty decent. There we've got a pretty nice looking insert in there. Let's go see if it fits. Well, let's see if it'll go on there. These were very loose before. Yeah, now they don't have much at all. Good. A little grease on it. It'll fix that part right up. So I tightened those up good. Well, I've been working on the valves a little bit here. I've gone ahead and taken some good old valve grinding compound and put on here, and I got them fitting pretty good. They show you what they look like here. Well, let's see, that's not quite done yet. Look at this one here. This one's pretty good. It got a nice little line on it where it's been lapped in. This one I'm going to hit it once more. It needs just a little bit more work, but we're getting the valves done. Get those in there and get the springs on. I got some new springs for it, so we'll get those on there, and we'll be done with the head and ready to put it on. Be ready for assembly shortly, so kind of looking forward to that. Over here I've got a couple of mags. The one I took off of it is locked up pretty bad. We've got another mag here we're going to look at. It turns freely. So we're going to look at both of them and make one good one out of both of them here, I think. So I've got to change the gears over anyway. This is for 1.5 horses. This is off of our 3 that we're doing. So get those going. That'll come up in another segment here after a bit, and we'll be ready to start making some gaskets. I got to make a mixer gasket for it, get that put on it, get the mixer back on it. Just a lot of odds and ends, little stuff it takes to get the thing back and making smoke again. Okay, I received the new fuel tank from a well-known supplier out in Iowa. I'm not going to say who I got it from, but they're a pretty good parts supplier out there. And went to do the installation, and gosh, this thing doesn't fit. If you set it down in the base, then the holes don't line up. The base is made correctly. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. The old tank fit in here just right, and if the base was made wrong or something like that, it wouldn't fit the block of the engine. So we've got an issue. If you look at this plastic tank, it's a great concept. I love the concept of a plastic tank. You don't have to worry about it ever rusting out. And they claim that this is the same material that automotive tanks are made out of, and that stuff is certainly tough and lasts forever. But the issue is the margin here, the flange, is a little too narrow, a little too wide on this part. Drain plug goes toward the front, tag at the back, so it goes in like this, and when it sets down in there, the holes don't line up. So could I grind on this casting? where this little bump is right here to make it fit there. Yeah, I could grind that out. That would allow these holes to slide back enough to fit, get the bolts through. But then when I put the oil tank or the oil pan on here, then up front here I don't have all of a sudden enough area to get comfortably the check valve down in there. I mean, it'll go, but I'm not sure how much clearance I'm going to need there. So yeah, obviously this is made wrong. You know, here's a set of calipers. If it was adjusted a little bit, the belly of the tank, in other words, was slipped back this way some, it would fit, because that's the distance that my holes are off. So anyway, long story short, the tank is not gonna fit, not gonna work, so I'm gonna have to come up with another source. I've made some phone calls. I'm not gonna say their name, but somebody else has offered to send a tank and made out of stainless steel, and we're gonna give that a shot next. So we'll see what happens with this deal. Well, it's been a minute for me getting the tank returned. Bought the tank from these folks. Had an issue with it. Called them on the phone. They were more than happy to talk to me about it. Graciously accepted the tank back. My return shipping was only less than $5 through them. They provided a coupon. Couldn't ask for more. I bought a lot of stuff from these guys. Great people. The tank just didn't work. So called up another supplier, another great man and wife team out on the East Coast. And he said, yeah, he says, I've got a stainless steel tank. He said, let me send it to you, see if it fits. He says, I'll guarantee it to fit. I said, okay, send it. So we did that, and here's what we got. This is a hand fabricated tank. It's made out of stainless steel. It has been bent and welded. The seams are welded on it. It's got a nice plug with a brass plug in it here, a nice little drain bung on it there. The joints have been nicely finished. It looks like it'll hold a gasket just fine. And it fits. Let me grab you here and show you. Fits just like it should. I mean, the holes line up fine, and all is good. So that's a good thing. So now we can get on with assembling this thing. The next thing I'm going to do probably is take some sealer and seal up. This is kind of rusty. I've knocked a lot of it off. This is the bottom of the oil pan. It sets on here. And gonna knock a lot of this rust off and put a coat of sealer on this, probably a fuel tank sealer, to seal it up. I've tried to shine a light through it and see if there's any pinholes in it, and there is not, even as rough as it looks. I'm gonna use it. So that'll be next, and we'll get this engine back together. All right, while you weren't looking, I went ahead and assembled the engine, set the shims, rod shims, main shims, everything's set up. Put it all back together, put it on this new wood. Got the head on it. Valve system's working. Got the mixer on it. Got it plumbed up. Got a light there, you can see that. There we go. So getting closer. Let's take a look at the timing on it here. Okay, kind of got you an awkward setup here, but anyway, there's dots here. that line up, and there's also a dot up here that lines up for the Magneto. So everything in the crankcase looks pretty good. Let me show you. Here's a sandwich area between the tank and the oil pan. And you got to be sure and put some sealer in there. Plenty of sealer around where the oil or where the fuel fill is. And then, you know, it looks pretty decent in there. So we're ready to get the Magneto put back on it and get it timed up and get this cover put on. And of course this cover will have to come back off in order to get into the bolts where the Magneto bolts on, but that's okay. I wanted to put it on. It's been a couple, 3 weeks since I worked on it here, so I wanted to make sure it was all covered up. And just give you an overview of it here. All back together. And we will take a look at the Magneto. I'll leave a link in the description below for the Magneto repair. At least we're going to go into them and look at them and see which one's best, and come back and get it put on here and go from there.